and he's currently now 25 appearances, 22 goals. That's all right.
If somehow we don't win the league, man, like he will be responsible for that. A great
What?
part of it. Yeah.
The main dude, obviously, the conversion rate isn't the best, but the amount of goals he's been scoring for us this season overall is pretty amazing.
There's been clear evidence that in the first half he scores an abundance amount of goals. In the second half, he tends to struggle to keep up with the momentum throughout a season.
For a while, I've been thinking that people have critiqued him a bit so harshly. Even though his conversion rates when it comes to chances isn't the best, the amount of goals he still scores at 36 for an elite club is pretty impressive. People also critique his hold-up play, but people have said that at this point of his career, he doesn't have the mobility he once had once upon a time. So it's useless to look at or criticize his play on the ball. Last thing, I feel slightly that the fans who go over the top on slander want to protect their Pookie Bear, the racist cannibal, who has less away UCL goals than Martin Braithwaite. Jesus Christ.
I thought that was a stray. That was a stray, I would call it.
The reason why Lewandowski has been criticized is because the first 4 months of his season, he was started off hot. Like, till the end of November, I looked it up. It was like 15 goals in La Liga, 7 in the Champions League. Great fucking numbers. He was scoring. Since December, the start of December, actually, he's only scored 7 goals in La Liga and 2 in the Champions League. It's a massive drop off, and that's within pretty much like splitting the season in 4 months apart. So, yes, the criticism there is valid. He's not scoring, and when he's not scoring, he can barely give you anything outside of scoring. So, you telling me that the criticism that Lewandowski isn't valid? I mean, I don't really know how you can justify his performance because he hasn't been great. Now, granted, yesterday he scored a brilliant goal. Great, that's what we needed from him, what we've been asking from him. Now, let's keep it a stack too. That goal he scored. If he didn't score that goal, how are you assessing his performance? It was terrible. Like it's a classic elite striker situation. You score a brilliant goal, but
don't you take his agent? Should you take his agent into account?
Of course, you can take his agent into account, but in the beginning of the season, when let's say the first 4 months, weren't we all saying he's the best striker on the planet? We were saying that, and that was valid. He was the best striker on the planet. He refound his form because, under Hansi Flick, a former manager of his, that's great. But if we can't give you best striker on the planet shouts, and then resort to, oh, he's 37 years of age on the second half of the same fucking season. Like, what are we doing here? It's the same thing with Lamine Yamal. We can go on and say about, like, oh, he's 17. Hey, but guess what? If you're that good at 17, guess what? You're going to be judged on the criteria of the highest level. Even though you're just 17, sure, it's a get-out-of-jail-free card. But if we're going to do that, okay, I guess you can use your jail-out-of-free card with Lewandowski being 37. I mean, some of the chances he missed, I'm sorry, you can't watch Lewandowski and be like, bro, some of the chances this guy has missed is inexcusable for a player of his quality.
So, okay, so again, missing the chance, but let's try and be objective here. But does the vitriol still make sense when the man that you're criticizing is currently the top scorer in the league?
Okay, but my question to you is how are these goals coming along? It's like you said, you always like context, right? Great, you can score 50 goals in a season, but if like 35 to 40 of your goals come, now this is not pertaining to Lewandowski, but if 35 to 40 of your goals come in the first half of the season, it's going to sit pretty at the end of the season when everything is calculated. But when you actually break it down,
I disagree, man.
When you break it down, it's not as pretty as you think. The guy has, I believe when you include Copa del Rey and the Super Copa, I think he has like 35 goals or whatever. But majority of his goals have came in that 4-month span. So, like I said, just counting La Liga and Champions League, 22 of the 35 goals he has came up to the end of November. All I'm being criticizing is that just be consistent in your output. If you can just be consistent in that same level output, I could give a fuck how he plays in terms of hold up, in terms of, distributing out to the wingers. But if you're not even scoring, what the fuck am I going to praise you about?
Okay, see, here's my thing about Lewandowski. Is Lewandowski an amazing striker? Yes. Is he? And also, this leads into one of the questions that we're gonna have like at the end, which is generational against all timer. Like he's definitely easily one of the best generational all timer. That's a different discussion debate we can have afterwards.
Oh my god.
But my issue for Lewandowski is I've always felt that when the pressure mounts, can you trust him to deliver? Hence why we have that whole thing of who do you rather have, Eto or Lewandowski? In a big game, I'm always going to choose Eto. So the thing for Lewandowski is early boom. In these later games, bro, we need that goal.
That's what
Game
I'm saying.
37,
That's
we need
what
that
I'm
goal.
saying.
Semi-final, we need that goal. Lewandowski, I just feel that when we need a goal and the games now matter, he doesn't score. But
I mean, he did
this
Listen,
season.
I don't want to wait, hold on. I don't want to be insulting and call him a stats powder. I leave that for Kane. I think that would be disingenuous and insulting to a man of this quality and this consistency just to call him a stats powder. But it does feel as if he gets a lot of his goals in games that don't really matter. Now, the facts about it is we have to look at the whole picture. Everything matters. Those goals in week 3 matter just as much as the goals in week 36 because all the points all collate. But if you're in a position where, oh, Real, these guys are breathing down our necks. We need this goal now.
This is what I go to. Like, and I don't know why people always resort to the whole Champions League. Like, it's a stupid filterized criticism. The comparison for me will always be between Suarez and Lewandowski because they're too clear cut to the two best strikers of this generation. Benzema had a great season, but that season alone isn't going to put him in that conversation. And that's not to say that Benzema is a one season wonder because he's not. He just didn't have the same, I guess, peak or prime as Suarez and Lewandowski. Lewandowski, for the most part of his career, let's be honest, he has been criticized for not showing up when it matters most. Like, if I think about his biggest performance of his career, well, I have to go all the way back to Dortmund against Real Madrid. Like, and that's a whole Bayern Munich career in between. His most iconic moment with Bayern Munich was probably the 5 goals against Wolfsburg in a league match that with Guardiola. I mean, that's not like, don't get me wrong. I will still say this, and I say this without being biased because Suarez is my favorite striker of this generation, and I think he's the best. Lewandowski beats him in terms of longevity and sheer consistency over a decade-long career. I don't deny that. But if you tell me who's the better player, you can argue, debate who's a better goal scorer in terms that Suarez has a better catalog in terms of goals, but Lewandowski obviously has the volume. That's an argument, like that's a debate there as well. But the one thing I've always felt about Lewandowski is that he's not the most adaptable player either. He needs his players around him to sacrifice for him. Now, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Hold on.
Could you say that's in early Lewandowski? So 2011 to 2013. I think he was adaptable. I think he's become less adaptable.
Okay, sure. But this was the same issue that he had at Bayern Munich. Like, the players around him have to adapt. Like before you cut me off, I don't necessarily think that's the bad thing about Lewandowski because if you can adapt to him, he's giving you easily like 50 goals a season. So it's worth the sacrifice in my opinion. Now, you have guys like Suarez, for in my opinion, or even Benzema. Guys like Suarez, like I'm keeping it to just Suarez just because they're 1 and 2 in my opinion, and there's a space between 3. Suarez, we've seen him at Liverpool play with Sturridge, play with Sterling. It worked. At Barcelona, he played with Messi and he played with Neymar. And then Atletico, bro, who the fuck did he play with Atletico? And he still was a top scorer and led them to a league title.
I don't know.
Then you go to Uruguay.
He gave Felix a league title.
You go to Uruguay. He's linked up with Forlan. Then he linked up with Cavani. You think he's not gonna link up with that fucking bum ass Darwin Núñez? Let's be honest. So Suarez can be your main threat and he can be your complementary piece. He's far more adaptable and he has raised the floor of many teams that he's played on. And that's not even mean getting to other teams he's played on before, like the teams at Ajax and everything when they were bumming those times. I just don't feel that that's the same thing with Lewandowski. Like, you have Pedri, Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, who are some of the best creators in the world. And yet you're still struggling to put in chances that you would do it blindfolded.
Barry, talk to me now. I'll come to everyone else. Barry, talk to me.
Nah, I just think it was the small game robbery thing. I think he's actually been kind of big for us this season. He scored against Bayern. He scored against Bayern, Real Madrid twice, and he's been okay in the UCL, I would say. So far, obviously, after the international break, it's going to be the huge stretch, and we'll see how he does, but he hasn't been small game robbery. I mean, our hugest games of the season, he's been there. Because people say small game Robert, but
did he score in the first leg Copa del Rey against Atleti? In the first leg, in the 4-4.
He did.
He did.
Okay, so he scored on first leg. He scored in this La Liga game now.
I'm just saying because like people say small game Robert, but it's not like Suarez was that clutch. Yeah,
That's cap.
So Barry, so do you think that the criticism has been unfair?
No, the only thing I can agree is that like we need to look into the future because if we had a more mobile striker, that would really help a lot. But I just see how it is because I'm not gonna expect something that I know he can do for me. That's why I don't say, "Oh, why is your Lincoln play that bad?" I know it's not that good, so I'm not gonna highlight it. I just look at the goals and obviously the conversion rate isn't the best, but the amount of goals he's been scoring for us this season overall is pretty amazing. And people say we're not blowing out the competition because of him, but I just think it's been poor game management because sometimes we had a 2-0 lead, but we had stupid red cards and then we blow the lead. It's not on Lewandowski, really.
My criticism has always been consistent. I do think that age is catching up to him, and I've been saying that for a while. In terms of the goals that he does score, we've seen that 3 seasons for Barcelona. There's been clear evidence that in the first half he scores an abundance amount of goals. In the second half, he tends to struggle to keep up with the momentum throughout a season, which you could say it's a case of his body catching up, but it's also a case of, well, if you're not scoring goals and you're not doing that, I don't expect you to be the most amazing in the link-up play. I don't expect that from you. But when you're receiving clear-cut in positions just to let go of the ball and pass it immediately, when you're disturbing the build-up play consistently by dropping into situations that you know you can't handle or he's just not good enough at, it becomes a problem because at this point you're not necessarily doing really good hold-up play, nor are you doing really good in terms of your conversion rate. So it does become a hindrance in that sense. Like again, there are certain games that throughout the season. Like I thought when we were 10 men down against Benfica, as bad as some of his touches were, I thought his link-up play was pretty well. He created chances for Rafinha even with 10 men down. I thought he was really helping us in terms of our press. But again, I do see him as a hindrance in terms of what this team can be just because of how old he is.
Okay, let's say you take him out. You get a player that fits the team a lot more. Let's say just for argument's sake, Alvarez. Now, him fitting your team, will he also provide all the goals that Lewandowski has provided?
I think in terms of the way we're set up with Hansi Flick, Alvarez would most definitely provide in terms of goals, and I think he would provide in
the same amounts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one because I kind of do see where Barry's coming from, and I kind of also agree with Ricardo. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle where I feel like he should get praised, but I feel like he also shouldn't be like, he should also get criticized because the thing with Lewandowski, what I've noticed with him is that he scores goals, but he doesn't score as many as you would like in a game. Like, I feel like this year compared to last year, he was like, I think he scored like one goal in every game, whenever he scores, there's only one goal, you know, and we saw at the beginning of the season, like he was scoring like 2 or 3 goals every game. Like it was just in a rapid pace. And it's just weird to me, like how he's already had a drop off already in that sense.
So 22-23 season, 33 appearances, 23 goals. 23-24-7, 32 appearances, 19 goals. And he's currently now 25 appearances, 22 goals. That's all right.
Yeah, that's
pretty good. You know,
that's not pretty good, does it?
That's like, let me see.
Bro, there's not 4 strikers in the world that you can name with better form than that.
A 19 goal season is a very good season. And that is the lowest goal count he's had in his 3 seasons so far. 19 goals, that's a very good season. 19 goals. So,
you know how much HH would take for a 19-goal season from Jack?
But my thing though is, okay, it's sort of context. You say 19 goals, but if you score in bunches, so let's say you get 19 goals, but most of those goals are in the first half of the season, they're not in the second half of the season, and they're not when you needed them. But are goals still goals?
Oh, bro, the guy should be on Messi 2012 numbers. With the amount of chances we are creating. So it does piss me off, man. Like if somehow we don't win the league, man, like he will be responsible for that. A great part of
What?
it. Yeah,
The main dude.
yeah, bro. Like in November and December, the amount of chances this guy was missing. Yeah, of course.
I don't know about all that.
But
man.
he's scored. What do you mean by his main reason? But he scored 22 goals. Like,
But because no, have okay.
so what about the defense? What
If
about
I-
defensive mistakes? They don't count.
If I create 100 chances and you score like 22, like bro, like what the hell? Like, come on, man, bro. The guy was missing 1v1 against like bum ass goalkeepers.
To watch the rest of this vid, think about becoming a Football Hut member. If you're a desktop merchant, just click on the join button below, over here. Or, if you're a mobile phone merchant, just click on the join button below the video over here and join the true elite content crack addicts. Peace!